In any modern economy, the allocation of a population's free time is a resource of immense value, and in the global marketplace of attention, one asset reigns supreme: professional football. It commands billions of hours of human focus, generates staggering revenue, and drives communal identity. But a curious question emerges for the analyst of human behavior. What about the individuals who do not participate? The individuals who remain entirely outside this massive system of engagement. It is a common social inquiry, often delivered with genuine confusion. How can you not appreciate the game? This question, however, misunderstands the premise. The decision to abstain from this global ritual is not a passive void, but an active psychological stance. It reveals less about the sport itself, and far more about the intricate cognitive frameworks and value systems of the individual. To the psychologist, this phenomenon is not mere preference. It is a clear indication of where an individual's cognitive resources are being allocated. It is about the fundamental architecture of focus and the internal mechanisms of reward. When the vast machinery of society elevates a particular activity, and an individual's mind fails to register the prescribed emotional reward, we are observing what can be termed value dissonance. This is not an act of defiance or a juvenile attempt at nonconformity. On the contrary, it is a profound, often subconscious, signal of self-awareness. The brain is simply reporting that its criteria for meaning, engagement, and emotional resonance are not being met by this specific stimulus. Through clinical observation and behavioral analysis, we find that individuals who demonstrate this immunity to the sport's appeal often align with one of four distinct psychological archetypes. Each of these profiles provides a powerful insight into the complex, internal logic that governs their attention and their definition of what is meaningful. First, we encounter the self-focused thinker. This individual harbors no animosity toward the sport. They simply find themselves neurologically insulated from its primary effect. Their cognitive framework is not configured for high levels of vicarious emotion, that is, the specific human ability to derive intense pleasure and a sense of personal triumph from the successes of an unrelated third party. This person's dopamine and serotonin systems are calibrated differently. They receive their neurochemical rewards not from the passive observation of a spectacle, but from the active pursuit of personal progress. When a stadium of 70,000 people erupts in collective ecstasy over a goal, the self-focused thinker is processing the event through a detached analytical filter. Their internal monologue is not one of shared joy, but of logical inquiry. Why am I expected to feel excitement for the achievements of strangers? From a psychological standpoint, these individuals typically exhibit low requirements for external validation and a high degree of self-determination. They do not need to belong by mirroring the emotional state of a crowd. They construct their identity through internal metrics of self-improvement. This is often misread by an observer as coldness or apathy, when in reality it is a demonstration of pure intellectual independence. They perceive no tangible reward in the act of watching others achieve victory. The second archetype is the disillusioned observer. This profile is distinct because it implies a past engagement. This person used to care. They may have followed teams, understood the rules, and participated in the ritual. However, at a specific juncture, a cognitive shift occurred. They began to perceive the intricate scaffolding behind the game, the colossal financial interests, the relentless marketing engines, and the manufactured deification of players who are, themselves, assets in a system, disconnected from the very fans who grant them significance. This type of individual begins to experience a profound sense of existential detachment. The entertainment, once a source of pleasure, is recontextualized as a distraction, lacking any real-world application or contribution to personal growth. They have internalized the realization that their emotional investment yields no tangible return, that cheering for a team will not solve their personal challenges, and that celebrating the success of strangers is an ineffective balm for their own existential voids. Their withdrawal is not an act of arrogance. It is an act of clarity. They are not rejecting the game itself, but rather, they are rejecting the pervasive cultural illusion that the game matters more than the tangible, immediate realities of their own lives. Third, we identify the redirected mind. This individual does not actively dislike the sport. They are simply and completely indifferent to it because their cognitive and emotional resources are already fully allocated. their capacity for passion and excitement, their entire reward system, is directed elsewhere. It may be channeled into the mechanical complexity of automotive engineering, the narrative depth of cinema, the strategic mastery of complex games, or the emotional resonance of music. For this archetype, the choice is not about being different. It is a simple matter of a more efficient emotional economy. Psychologically, they operate with what are known as diversified stimulation patterns. Their brain is wired to seek dopamine from sources that offer high levels of variety and personal relevance. They require an experience they can interact with, analyze, or feel a deep narrative connection to. To this mind, football appears highly repetitive, a closed loop of predictable outcomes. Conversely, analyzing a complex film, mastering a difficult skill, or exploring a new technical design provides their brain with a superior cocktail of rewards: novelty, a sense of mastery, and a feeling of genuine connection. Their passion is not missing. It is simply invested in worlds that feel more intellectually and emotionally alive to them. Finally, we have the fourth group, which we can call the honest realists. This group articulates their position with a raw, unfiltered practicality. Their response is often a mirror to their own socio-economic reality. Why should I dedicate my limited time to watching multimillionaires succeed, while I am struggling with my own finances, career, or sense of purpose? Watching them live their dreams only magnifies the distance to my own. This is not animosity toward the sport itself. It is a candid expression of psychological friction. For this group, the game is not an escape from reality. It is an unwelcome reminder of it. It highlights perceived inequality and the vast gap between their aspirations and their current state. For others within this same archetype, the logic is even more direct and pragmatic. It is just a game. It does not solve fundamental problems. It does not alter the course of global events. This perspective should not be mistaken for bitterness. It is a form of psychological honesty. These individuals view the world through a lens of strict practicality and emotional protection. Their cognitive heuristic is simple. Why invest emotional energy into an activity that provides no tangible personal or societal return? They are not numb or joyless. They are simply fatigued by illusions and have chosen to conserve their emotional energy for problems they can actually solve. Therefore, it is perhaps a flawed premise to assume that non-engagement is a sign of laziness or deficit. It may be the exact opposite. It may be a sign of a mind that is wired differently, one that sees the world through an alternative framework of value. When an individual's primary energy is directed toward building a business, learning a new skill, creating art, or solving complex problems, it becomes psychologically difficult to generate enthusiasm for the passive observation of another person's narrative. The mind is already occupied with its own. Reflecting on these four psychological profiles, the self-focused thinker, the disillusioned observer, the redirected mind, or the honest realist, which one resonates most with your own experience? Or do you see a combination of these traits within yourself? We encourage you to share your analysis in the comments below. This dialogue helps us all understand the complex ways we assign value. And if you appreciate this deeper examination of human behavior and economic psychology, be certain to subscribe to the channel for our weekly analysis.